Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:02. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio right now with producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. Hey, if you wanted, you can put one of those little windsock thingies on there. I sprayed those down too with disinfectant because the mics get a little poppy.
Oh. Is that better?
You notice without they get a little poppy here.
Okay.
Here, it sounds different.
Oh, I like it. Okay,
Those
very
are
good.
those are
Thank you.
hosed down with disinfectant as well.
Thank you. We are all disinfected here at WSKB,
Well,
WCPC, Channel 15.
I got a nice spray bottle from the guys and the custodians before
Yep.
they left, and
Perfect.
so they said when you run out, let us know. We'll fill it up again for you.
Sounds like a plan.
So I hosed down the whole table.
Okay,
at the end
very
of every
good.
day.
Yeah, so good. Thank you.
Strange times we live in, Tina Gorman.
You know what, Pete Coles? I was thinking the same thing. Remember the good old days like 3 weeks ago?
When we were just tired.
Yeah, when we were just tired. Now
And it was normal tired.
Now
and
we're exhausted, way overtired, and just trying to function here.
I said to Jim Wiggs, I was like, he came in here yesterday with the mayor, and I said to him, I says, this is going to be a grind, isn't it? He goes, yep.
Yes,
That's all I see, yep.
I was listening to an emergency doc on the phone yesterday or this
Yep.
morning. It seems like yesterday. It was just 15 minutes ago on my way in, and he was saying we're in the sprint phase, but he said we're heading into the marathon. So
Yeah, the grind. I mean,
everybody take a breath.
what we're
because-
trying to do is have the number of patients be consistent, not overwhelming.
Correct.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
And I found out that just off the top of the show that people are getting inventive out there.
Oh, people are getting incredibly inventive in so many ways. So that you see, Gary and I are always looking for the silver lining.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my husband Gary and I are always looking for the silver lining. So yes, I agree. People are getting creative and inventive, which is really fun. And by the way, speaking of fun, with all this seriousness, I mean, you have to have a bit of a sense of humor. You have to maintain your sense of humor.
Oh,
you have
heck
to have a
yeah.
little bit of fun. So when I was going through deciding what I was going to wear today,
Yes.
I dug out. Do you remember this, Pete? This
The
is
old
my
fist
retro.
shirt?
This is the old fist. It's the old retro WSKB T-shirt.
Yep.
From now almost 6 years ago. Because
That was
it'll
a
be
Jake Leon design.
It was Jake Lee. Is it Leon?
Leon,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. He was our first producer, student over at Westfield State University.
At that time, he's also the radio general manager.
Yeah, exactly. And Jake gave me this T-shirt, and it's his fist, and it's got WSKB somewhere around there across 89.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to wear something fun today. My retro WSKB T-shirt.
So I got some show and tell.
Go ahead. What
Check
you got?
this out.
All right. What do you have?
So a doctor in, I think it's Washington State, got
Okay.
he and his son are avid 3D printers.
Okay. Yep.
And due to the lack of shortage of masks, they designed this. They adapted a mask.
Wow.
And they designed this, and it can be 3D printed. And they let the plans be readily available on the internet, so that anybody with a 3D printer can print the mask. So it's like a hardened plastic.
Yeah.
But in the center there, where the square is you can cut up a regular surgical mask and put squares of it in there. Or there's a company that's just said that they'll produce something to fit that square.
Okay.
And they're reusable, so you can use it up to like 6 patients or something like that.
Wow.
Because it's not, it's not in contact with you, it's not in contact with them, it doesn't have sweat, that type of thing.
Okay.
So they said you can use it almost all day.
Wow.
And they're trying to different sizes. I guess you can adjust the sizes. That was printed by a robotics class in New Hartford, Connecticut.
See.
My girlfriend, her daughter's in the robotics class, and I guess some of the students and the teachers went in, got the plans, and that is their model.
Wow.
So they're working on getting filters for it. But I was wondering, I'm going to run this up the flagpole in our chain of command today.
Yes.
And say, hey, can some of our teachers and maybe students come in? We have 3D printers in manufacturing.
Okay.
The plans are readily available. So all they got to do is basically plug in the plans
Right.
and go.
Yeah.
They said it takes about 4 hours to print out the mask.
Okay.
Maybe we could start churning those out and either look at buying the filters or see if a community member could buy the filters and donate them. This would be mostly for our health department.
Yes.
And maybe our fire department.
Yep.
So they have a breather
Yep.
and they can use a consistent mask
Nice.
and just change a filter.
And I
Like
had
one per person.
Yep. I know that the hospital right now is not using, they won't take like handmade masks, because I know we have some groups in the community that have patterns for masks. They've been in touch with me. Lester from WOW and that whole group that does all the creative arts and all that
Yep.
had said he found a pattern. So did Michelle Moniz, who does our Heaven's Angels program. But Lester said he found a pattern through the CDC. So, because my question to Michelle was, well, what is the material? I don't want people to have a false sense of safety that this is a mask. So it's, but Lester said he found whatever the material is that they need to use. So I said to the two of them, they don't know each other. I connected them by email and said, you two work together. These would be primarily for our seniors. Even just, the ones that are driving up to get meals, if it makes them feel safer, or the ones that, have to do some grocery shopping.
Sure.
So can't use the healthcare professionals. But, I agree with you, Pete. I mean, I think one of the silver linings, and believe it or not, I've found several, but one of them is, people being creative, working together. I think that we're going to, despite all the distancing, I think that people are going to begin to connect, especially using technology. I'm connecting these two people that both have worked with us at the senior center, but have never worked with each other. So,
I just found out from somebody else. Literally, the girl I'm dating, her daughter said, "Oh, our teachers found it, and we started. A couple people would go in and help out at different times and kind of monitor their machine And so I think we have 2 or 3. But I also read in the article that there's a husband and wife team that build 3D printers.
Okay.
That are stop manufacturing, and they have like 15 of them that are just cranking these things out. So
wow. Well,
for the local populace. But they said that the filter material is HEPA grade, hospital grade HEPA filtering. So the insert. So and the production line said instead of cutting up masks, they could make those without a problem, but still make masks. So the company that's saying that they can make them. So
right. So how great is that? That would be amazing. I think people are putting their skills to great use.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, it's plus, last night we aired local Brian Chacon and Vicky St. Pierre have a duo that plays out at a whole bunch of bars, Brian and Vicky show. And they did a Facebook Live, and until the feed crapped out, about an hour and 15 minutes in, I think they were on a cell and it just died out.
Yeah.
We aired their feed on Channel 15 live on 89.5.
Nice.
And we're going to do that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There's a thing called the 413 Social Distancing Fest.
Okay.
And
Fun.
it's like a band each hour. So we're going to run those and kind of play music in between.
Yeah.
So
I just think that's great.
some late nights coming up for me, but I think it's really cool. People need something different.
They do. Yeah. People are getting creative with their distancing.
Well, they're also getting sick of the news.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what? I limit myself. We were talking about that at the senior center yesterday. Some of the staff that was there, we were saying we have to kind of limit ourselves. You can get so overwhelmed and so panicky and so terrified and so discouraged. So I limit myself to, like an hour in the morning, an hour at night, catch up with the highlights. But of course, as I said to my family, I'm working, directly with Jim Wiggs. So I'm getting anything that MCOA, EOEA, all of those. So any of those very factual things, I'm getting all that via email. And so by the time I get home at night, it's like, I said to Grace last night, we're watching Jeopardy. I just need to use my brain to do something other than talk about the coronavirus. So, we have to do that. So let's, before we go to our first break, because we need to set the stage for this. So, it was so funny, Pete. I was listening to NPR this morning, and they did periodically they'll throw in, a famous birthday. But we have some really famous birthdays today. The one that they threw in this morning was it was some comedian. She must be younger because I've never heard of her. And I'm thinking, really? We have some really big birthdays today, and you throw out like somebody that I've never heard of. But anyway, we're gonna start with, because I have like 7 or 8. We got a bunch of them. So today, March 25th, is the birthday of Gloria Steinem. Feminist, activist, publisher. She was born March 25th, 1934 in Toledo, Ohio. I would have thought she was from like New York City or LA or something, but no, Toledo, Ohio. I cannot believe she's 86 years old today. And I saw Gloria Steinem. She was at Westfield State University within the last probably 10 years. And I don't
really?
Yes, yeah, she was. Yeah, we and it was really kind of cool. She presented in the gym. They used the gym, and it was really fun. And I'm trying to think I'd have to go back and look at when she was here, but she was in her 70s. She looked like she was in her 40s. She was pretty amazing. All right, Steinem's parents divorced when she was 11, and she ended up caring for her mother, Ruth, who suffered from mental illness. She spent 6 years living with her mother in a rundown home in Toledo before leaving to go to college. She went to Smith College right here in Northampton. She studied government, which was a non-traditional choice for a woman at that time. She became a freelance writer, and in the late 1960s, she helped create New York Magazine and wrote a column on politics for the publication. Steinem became more engaged in the women's movement after reporting on an abortion hearing. In 1971, Gloria Steinem joined other prominent feminists in forming the National Women's Political Caucus, which worked on behalf of women's issues. She also took the lead in launching the pioneering feminist Ms. Magazine. It began as an insert in New York Magazine in December of 1971. Its first independent issue appeared in January of 1972. Under Gloria Steinem's direction, the magazine tackled important topics, including domestic violence. Ms. became the first national publication to feature the subject on its cover in 1976. So happy birthday to Gloria Steinem, who is 86 years old today, and I just find that so hard to believe. But yeah. And we'll do one more, and then we'll go to break. It is also the birthday of Danica Patrick, professional race car driver. I thought that was kind of a nice juxtaposition. You know, Gloria Steinem, Danica Patrick doing something very non-traditional for a female. She was born March 25th, 1982 in Beloit, Wisconsin. So she's 38 years old today. So roughly like kind of half the age. Yes, retired, yeah. Danica Patrick dropped out of high school to pursue a career as a race car driver. In 2005, she became the first woman to hold the lead during the Indianapolis 500. 3 years later, she was the first to record a win at the Indy car circuit. Switching to stock cars, Patrick won the time trials at the 2013 Daytona 500, becoming the first woman to win the pole position at the famous NASCAR event. She retired from racing in 2018. So happy birthday to Danica Patrick.
Now successful business owner.
Really?
Yeah,
do you know what she's
done? I think she's got a clothing line, and she's also still got her sponsorship with GoDaddy. I think she does website stuff too.
All right. So we got two pretty cool women out there. All right. It is 6:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. So this is going out to Gloria Steinem. This is Gloria by Laura Branigan.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:21. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in studio this morning here at Westfield Technical Academy, a very empty Westfield Technical Academy.
Yes, we're it.
With producer Pete Coles. It's nice and quiet in here. You know, we don't have to worry about
You have to close the
distancing,
doors.
right? We don't have to worry about physical distancing.
Well, for now, yeah. I mean, we're going to we might have a full studio later with Harry, because Harry has on in the first half an hour.
Okay.
He has Andrea Allard to talk about
from the YMCA.
the emergency daycare site. They got approved for that.
Mm-hmm. I heard that yesterday on the conference call.
My friend Louise tried, but she didn't have any healthcare workers. That was one of the qualifiers. And I'm like, so her home daycare is shut down. But I know others are staying open because they have people on their roster that are healthcare workers.
Okay.
And then in the second half hour, probably spilling into the 9 o'clock hour, we have Stefan Zaporowski and Bill Parks to talk about the meals programs.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect.
So we really want to get the word out about those.
Yes.
I know the school one's doing pretty good, but that's because they've been promoting it. We're really starting to make a push for the Boys and Girls Club program. We need to take that one off. And there's got to be a need out there.
Oh my gosh.
If the daytime program is that big, then there's got to be a nighttime need too. So.
There's a need, so we just need to get the word out. And of course, we're doing the daily program at the senior center, and our numbers are also creeping up. And I think that I think it's twofold. I think part of it is the meal, because we definitely have some people who don't cook. But I think the other part of it is what we're hearing from the seniors as they're driving through is this is like their big field trip out. It gives some structure to the day. It's their only human contact, even though it's through a car window.
A flyer for that one for Channel 12?
I did.
Okay, should be up
yes,
there,
I sent it yesterday. You know what I've been doing is we've been putting the flyers in with the lunches, and I keep changing color every time I update the flyer. I'm now on my fourth color in 6 days. So we just keep changing things because it's not just about the meal program and the menu, but as we change what we're doing at the senior center, I keep updating that as well. So kind of where things stand, that's a nice little lead into where we are right about now. So today's color is green, by the way, for the flyer. So we have now locked the doors to the senior center. The only thing that I have people coming in to do is borrowing medical equipment because, people are we still have a need for that.
Sure, yeah.
And we have people returning. So what we're saying, so we have a doorbell system set up. We have a little temporary doorbell. So if you come and you need equipment, first of all, we're asking you to call ahead of time because the staff is on a modified schedule, and I am the only person right now that's doing medical equipment. I'm not asking any of my staff to do anything that they don't feel safe doing. So I think that's, that's important. So anyway, we're asking you to call ahead of time so that I can make sure I have what you need and then schedule when to come because I am helping with traffic flow during the lunchtime.
Right?
There is limited availability. And then set up an appointment, and I just have you coming in and staying right in the vestibule area, right in the lobby area. And I'll bring out whatever you need. And then we're asking if people are returning medical equipment, there's a sign. You just leave it on the porch, and that way we can sanitize it, spray it down, disinfect it before we bring it into the building. And that has it's working very well. So that's great. I have a little bit more than half a staff at the senior center at this point. We're doing the lunch program, so we're taking the lunch calls. So the way the program works is if you would like to purchase, these are not free, it's our regular $3 lunch fee. So if you'd like to purchase lunch, which is the regular dinner lunch, we're doing whatever was on the menu.
It was on the schedule.
That's what we're serving, only to go. You call the senior center between 8:30 and 10 a.m., 562-6435. Let us know. You have to give your name and whoever you're picking. If you're picking up a meal for somebody, we just need the names of who's getting meals so that we can track that. And you have to call us by 10 o'clock. Now, I will tell you, and I understand what Bill Parks was saying with his meals too. You're trying to predict how many people are going to come through. So we do have a set number. And yesterday, unfortunately, we sold out rather quickly. So today we took out some extra food because we don't want to turn people away, but we only have what we have. So call between 8:30 and 10 a.m. and then you can come for pickup between 11 and 12. is our pickup time. And when you drive through to pick up, if you haven't done it before, you're going to come in the entrance farthest from the building. So that's on Murphy Circle is actually the name of that street. And I've got my husband, I've got my daughter helping to direct traffic down at that end. And then you just pull around to the outside of the building, follow the car in front of you, and we have a tent set up on the front porch. You just drive through to the tent, and I have 2 staff members there who will give you your meal and whatever the latest flyer is. They'll give you a copy of the menu so that you've got the menu for the next couple weeks. And if we've done a bread run, like yesterday we did a bread run, and so if we have extra bread, we'll give you a loaf of bread to go with it. If we have extra newspapers, we'll throw a newspaper. Whatever we have, we're giving those out as people are driving through. And then you exit just by the exit nearest to the building, and I'm standing there directing people on how to get out. And it also just gives our staff a chance to say hello and check up. And the other day it was really funny because we had a line of 3 or 4 cars, and we had the woman in the front. I think it was Diane Chiba was in the front. She was talking to Agnes and Mary Lou for a few minutes, and the car right behind her was another senior who knew her, who was, hey, I'm social distancing, and she's waving, and they're laughing and hanging out the window. And we're trying to bring a little bit of normalcy into a situation and levity into a situation that is not normal and kind of not funny, but we're just trying to keep everybo's spirits up because it's a tough time for everybody. We are certainly aware of that. So anyway, that's our lunch program. And then for those who had been going to the middle school, Westfield Middle School, to the senior lunch program, which used to be at 1:00 at the middle school, they can pick up their lunches at Abner Gibbs School, the same as when the kids are picking up their lunches over at Abner Gibbs between 11 and 1. And I'm guessing that it's the same meal. I don't know what they're doing over at Abner Gibbs, but our understanding is that one, that I don't think they are charging. They usually charge the seniors $1. I don't think they're doing that right now, and those meals are available between 11 and 1. So I know we have some seniors coming through over there as well.
Okay.
And then Bill Parks will be here later on, as Pete said, to talk about his
I think
program.
He's going to be in by phone, and I don't know if the superintendent's coming in. He may need to get out too. It's kind of one of those things where everybody needs a little road trip.
Absolutely. All right, it is 6:29. So why don't we take our next break, Pete? And then we've got a lot more really cool birthdays to do. So we'll do some of that and some fun stuff. And hopefully Joe Rouse will be here second hour. Joe is our director of public health and is the center of everything going on right now with all of this. And this is Joe's regular day to be on the show. He had switched to the fourth Wednesday of the month. He might regret having done that for this particular month, but
That's okay.
We'll see how that goes. I think he's actually, trying to get the accurate information out there, obviously, same as Jim Wiggs is trying to do so. All right, this song is in honor of the birthday of Danica Patrick, retired race car driver. It's called Hot Rod Heart by John Fogerty. We'll be back.
Big old Buick and a big old sky, and wheels on fire, and I tell you why. I got a hot rod heart. Oh, let's go prowling, sneaking like we used to do. Way back in the country, cut across the cornfields too. Big old Harley and a big old moon, big old gator putting on the zoom. I got a hot rod heart. Got a one-way ticket to the open road. Come on. Got a red line engine and I'm ready to go. Put the pedal to the metal if you wanna ride. If you wanna ride, let's go. Yeah! a hot rod car. Got a one-way ticket to the open road, come on. Hey. Got a red line engine and I'm ready to go. Head to the metal if you wanna ride, if you wanna ride, if you wanna ride, let's go. You drive it to my top and to my head. Ooh, let's go riding. 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 Come on.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by R. Levesque Associates. They are offering landscape architecture, civil engineering, environmental permitting, and land surveying. RLA is a second-generation company devoted to excellence in the planning and design of outdoor spaces. On the web at rlaland.com or at 40 School Street in Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete, this is the first time this has ever happened. We have 4 clocks. We have a clock on the TV, a clock under the TV, the new clock that you put up, and my phone, and they all have exactly the same time, which has never happened.
Outstanding.
I know, it is outstanding because usually something is a little off and I'm never sure what time I'm supposed to be giving. I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at the TV, but they were all the exact same time. And thank you, by the way, for this new clock that you put up there, which I notice also has military time.
Yes.
Because here's the thing about having Jim Wiggs, as director of management. Jim's a military guy. So
Yeah,
when you get
when
you get the old 1,300 hours, I'm thinking, okay, well that one is easy because that's 1 o'clock. But it's when you start to get into like the 1,800 hours, 1,900 hours, and my dad used to do that too. He used to drive us all crazy. He would do it just to drive us crazy because you'd be in your head going, okay, wait, what time is that? But it's so convenient. Like, here's your clock, and it tells me exactly what the military time would be. So thank you for that. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so today is March 25th, so we need to talk about there are some really famous birthdays today. Well, birthdays of some famous people. So first of all, it is the birthday of the late Jack Ruby. Does that name sound familiar to anybody? Like
yes,
Jack Ruby?
I know exactly who Jack Ruby is.
Yes, do you? So did I. So he was born March 25th, 1911 in Chicago, Illinois. He died January 3rd, 1967 at the age of 55. On the morning of November 24th, 1963, while being transferred from a jail cell to an interrogation office, Lee Harvey Oswald was shot by Jack Ruby, a Dallas nightclub owner, allegedly acting out of rage and anguish over the death of John F. Kennedy. Ruby was tried and found guilty of murder and was sentenced to death. In October 1966, a Texas appeals court reversed the conviction, but before a new trial could be held, Ruby died of a blood clot complicated by cancer. He opened the Carousel Club in 1954 and kept ownership until he went to jail in 1963. Jack Ruby had built up a friendly relationship with the Dallas police chief, mostly because he was running an establishment that they could easily close down, one of the reasons being Ruby's alleged ties to organized crime.
Yep.
Yeah, very interesting figure. This relationship allowed Jack Ruby access to come and go at police headquarters, and that is how he had access to the garage on the day he murdered Lee Harvey Oswald. Mm-hmm. What I don't know is why Texas reversed the conviction. I mean, clearly he did it, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't dive into it that deeply.
I think it was something about his health or something.
Okay. Oh, that could be. Well, yeah, he did. Yeah, maybe because by that time he did have cancer. Well, anyway, happy birthday to the late Jack Ruby. It is also the birthday of the late Matthew Garber. Now, that's probably not a name that you're familiar with, but when I tell you what he was in, what he acted in, he was a child actor. He was born March 25th, 1956 in London, and he died June 13th, 1977 at the age of 21. So he was really young when he died. Okay. Matthew Garber was a British child actor who played Michael Banks in the 1964 film Mary Poppins. He was the little Banks boy.
Oh, okay.
He appeared in only 2 other films, The 3 Lives of Thomasina and The Gnome Mobile, all 3 times appearing alongside actress Karen Daltrous. So Karen played his sister in Mary Poppins. All 3 appearances were in movies by Walt Disney Pictures. 10 years after his retirement, Garber contracted hepatitis while living in India, which later affected his pancreas. He died of pancreatitis at the age of 21. So yeah, Michael Banks from Mary Poppins. Okay, it is also the birthday of, you'll recognize this name, it is the birthday of the late sportscaster Howard Cosell. Remember Howard Cosell?
This is Howard Cosell.
Speaking of sports. He was born March 25th, 1918 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He died April 23rd, 1995 at the age of 77. Howard Cosell reached the pinnacle of his career as a commentator on television's Monday Night Football. He was on Monday Night Football from 1970 to 1983. He was simultaneously the nation's most loved and most hated sports broadcaster.
Absolutely.
His determination to tell it like it is, remember that was his expression, I'm going to tell it like it is, often created controversy or criticism, but he reveled in the attention his observations drew. Cosell, who had been variously described as arrogant, pompous, obnoxious, vain, cruel, verbose, and a show-off.
Yes.
Exactly. Willingly embraced those characterizations. He was remembered as the first to defend Muhammad Ali when the boxer was stripped of his heavyweight title after refusing to be drafted into the army because of religious reasons. And he voiced his approval of the Black Power salutes made by sprinters John Carlos and Tommy Smith at the 1968 Summer Olympic Games. I believe that was in Mexico City. So happy birthday to the late Howard Cosell. Yeah, he was definitely controversial, but, entertaining.
You think?
Yeah, thank, right. It is also the birthday of actor James McDaniel. James McDaniel was born March 25th, 1958 in Washington, D.C. Today, he is 62 years old. And James, lucky for you, you are now eligible to collect Social Security if you choose. Not that there's anybody in the Social Security Administration offices today, but all right. So James McDaniel is best known for playing Lieutenant Arthur Fancy on the television show NYPD Blue. Remember, like with Andy Sipowicz Yep. He created the role of Paul in the hit Lincoln Center play 6 Degrees of Separation. He played a police officer in the ill-fated 1990 series Cop Rock, and was a close advisor to the director Spike Lee regarding the activist Malcolm X in the 1992 film Malcolm X. He also played Sergeant Jesse Longford in the ABC television series Detroit 187. So he's done a lot of those police cop type things.
Yep.
But I do remember him as Arthur Fancy. He was kind of a man of few words, but it was sort of like whatever he said went. He wasn't loud. He wasn't in your face, but he was in control. So it is also the birthday of the late singer-songwriter, Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Today is Aretha Franklin's birthday. She was born March 25th, 1942 in Memphis, Tennessee. She died just 2 years ago, August 16th in 2018 at the age of 76. Franklin's musical gifts became apparent at an early age. Largely self-taught, she was regarded as a child prodigy. A gifted pianist with a powerful voice, Franklin got her start singing in front of her father's congregation. By the age of 14, she had recorded some of her earliest tracks at his church. She also performed with a traveling revival show, and while on tour, befriended gospel greats such as Mahalia Jackson, Sam Cooke, and Clara Ward. But life on the road also exposed Franklin to adult behaviors, and at the age of 14, she became a mother for the first time with a son, Clarence. A second child, Edward, followed 2 years later. So by the time Aretha Franklin was 16, she had 2 children. In 1960, with her father's blessing, Aretha Franklin traveled to New York, where, after being courted by several labels, including Motown and RCA, she signed on with Columbia Records. She went on to release several popular singles, many of which are now considered classics. In 1987, she became the first female artist to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And in 2008, she won her 18th Grammy Award, making her one of the most honored artists in Grammy history. Aretha Franklin's hits include Respect, Freeway of Love, I Say a Little Prayer, Think, Chain of Fools, and You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. And that is by no means any type of an exhaustive list. I mean, she had just hit after hit after hit. So happy birthday to Aretha Franklin. And finally, it is the birthday of singer, songwriter, composer, pianist Elton John. Some really amazing musical greats born on March 25th, right? 1947. Elton John was born in Middlesex, England. He's 73 years old today. He was born Reginald Kenneth Dwight. That's his real name.
I knew that.
He discovered his passion for music at an early age, and this blows me away, and taught himself how to play the piano when he was only 4 years old.
That I didn't know.
Sure. Okay. John had a difficult relationship with his father, who was a member of the Royal Air Force. His parents divorced when he was a teenager, and he and his father clashed over his future. Elton John captivated the sounds of early rock and roll, wanted to pursue a career in pop music, and much to his father's dismay, he dropped out of school at 17 to follow his dream. You can imagine his dad, being a member of the Royal Air Force, was really probably not so gung-ho on, sure, drop out of school and become a musician, right?
The music scene at that time was kind of the drugs and all that
exactly,
stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. The
whole
whole
I
drug
get
scene.
that one.
Oh, yeah.
I get that one
hey,
completely.
believe me, as a parent, so do I.
Yeah.
One of the top acts of the 1970s, Elton John became equally famous for his live shows. He dressed in fabulous, over-the-top costumes and glasses for his elaborate concerts. In an interview, John explained that I wasn't a sex symbol, so I dressed more on the humorous side, because if I was going to be stuck at the piano for 2 hours, I was going to make people look at me. That was a great quote.
Yep.
Some of his chart-topping hits include Crocodile Rock, Philadelphia Freedom, Rocket Man, Benny and the Jets, Little Genie, and Candle in the Wind. Again, by no means an exhaustive list.
Mm-hmm.
Branching out in different directions, Elton John teamed up with lyricist Tim Rice for several projects. They worked together on the soundtrack for the 1994 animated hit The Lion King. And one of the movie's songs, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, brought John his first Academy Award win for Best Original Song. He also found success on Broadway, composing the score for Billy Elliot in 2008, which went on to win 10 Tony Awards. Elton John was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994 and knighted in 1998. So happy birthday to the great Elton John, and it is 6:46, and you're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And in honor of Elton John's birthday, we're actually going to play, this was his first major hit, which is Your Song. So we will listen to that by Elton John.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. If I was a sculptor, but then again, no, or a man who makes potions in a traveling show. I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. I sat on the roof and kicked out the moss. Well, a few of the verses, well, they've got me quite cross, but the sun's been quite kind while I wrote this song. It's for people like you that keep it turned on. So excuse me for getting, but these things I do, you see, I've forgotten if they're green or they're blue. Anyway, the thing is, what I really mean, yours are the sweetest eyes I've ever seen. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:52. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, the man behind the glass, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
In my own little isolation bubble.
I know, you're like in your isolation booth. Remember at the dating game, they used to put them in the, where you were probably too young for that, but that was like back in the 60s, and they would have the person in a soundproof, isolated booth so they couldn't hear the introduction of their possible dates.
Yep.
But anyway, we are in a very secluded Westfield Technical Academy, so Pete and I are practicing lots of distancing.
I'm going to get some exposure today because I'm going out with Joe Didi.
Oh, yes.
We're going to do a show on Southwick eateries that are open.
So
he did one last summer.
On the road.
He did one last summer from the gazebo at Congamon Ponds by the boat launch.
Yep.
So we're going to visit businesses that are open. I'm going to stay outside though.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Yeah, I think hopefully it's going to be decent. Boy, I have a whole new respect for those police officers who have to direct traffic now that I've been doing traffic flow at the senior center. You know, I just do. We started last week. We would do it for an hour and a half, and then we cut it down because most everybody was coming between 11 and 12. So even if it's like today, it's going to be in the 40s, but you'd be surprised when you're just standing there, that gets really chilly.
Yep.
And you know, you're just on your feet that whole time. So
it's 47 is the high today.
Yeah. But I found I'm starting to learn how to dress because even though 47, you think, oh, that's not bad. Well, yes, if you just went out or you were walking around, but when you're just kind of standing in one place, especially if the sun's not shining, or if the wind kicks up, it gets it gets a little chilly.
Yep.
So I just want to shout out, I have some shout outs to do. So I want to shout out, first of all, to the Westfield Police Department, Mark Carbino and the Westfield Police Department, because the very first day that we started doing our meals, it occurred to me literally 10 minutes before we started that it would be really great if we had some kind of fluorescent covering. So I said to Mark, who had just happened to drop by, and he's doing traffic detail down at Abner Gibbs, because I was going to have him help us.
Right.
And he said, I can't because he's got to be at Abner Gibbs the same time.
Yeah, because that's a tougher spot to get in and out of.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And we're just doing parking lot stuff. I'm not like going out into the street. But even so, I said to Mark, it would be great if we had some kind of vest or something. So he flew over to the police department, came back within 5 minutes, and he had 4 jackets and 4 vests. And I had only asked for the vest because I thought, well, we could put those on top of our jackets. But am I ever glad he brought those jackets, because they are so nice. First of all, they're really big, so we can just throw them right on top of our our regular winter coats and gloves and everything. And they have hoods, so when it's raining and snowing, which we've now been out in the rain, in the snow, lots in the rain and snow. So those have been great. We haven't had the opportunity to use the vests. I'm hoping that the weather will warm up to enough that we can just wear the vests. And
I still have my emergency management jacket. I'm going to have to dig that out.
Yeah, those jackets are phenomenal. They are they're so wonderful. So thanks to the police department for loaning those to us while we do our lunch program, our curbside pickup lunch program. That's what we're calling it. I also want to shout out to my family, my husband Gary and my daughter Grace, who have been with us every day, helping out with signage and direction at the far end of the parking lot, getting people safely in and into line. I know it's hard because you can't really get a flow of anything going to the day because it's right smack in the middle of the day, from 11 to 12. So I really appreciate them coming out, and they are happy to do it. There's not been one complaint or anything, and I think they've really enjoyed, talking to the seniors as they're, sending them through the line. So I just wanted to say thank you to them, and just everyone who's doing so much work. I mean, Joe Rouse in the public health department, the team, Deb Mulvena, Jim Wiggs, of course, who's in charge of emergency management for the city, and I trust Jim Wiggs with my life. There is nobody that I would rather have doing that job. He has such a cool head. He's so methodical. He's a planner. He just makes you feel like he just makes you feel calm. As a department head, I think it's easy to panic and get overwhelmed. And Jim it's like, okay, we're all going to get through this one day at a time, set up a plan.
Well, you can't get flustered about it because then you lose focus.
You lose focus. And that's Jim's big thing is we just need to stay focused on what we can do right now. And, I'm finding that lots of people are giving us editorials and their opinions on how we should be doing things. Trust me, if you're not in this seat, if you're not in a seat of authority trying to make these decisions, and we're getting directives from everywhere and they're changing, it seems like by the hour.
Well, that's what people aren't realizing.
They don't realize that.
This is a super fluid situation.
It's incredibly fluid, Pete. I can't even
and guidance is changing
tell
sometimes
people
hour to
fluid.
hour.
It is. It absolutely is.
That's what I'm telling them. I'm like, the stuff that we're getting is changing hour to hour.
Correct.
So we can't disseminate it even fast enough.
Correct. So we're coming up with a plan, and literally it
that
could be
torpedoed.
like 20 minutes later, I could be on a conference call or I get an email. I just trying to keep up with the emails, with the updates from, things like I take my orders from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, the Mass Association of Councils on Aging.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Jim Wiggs and that team, the health department and that team at the local level, fire, police. So, everybody's, we're all trying to do the best we can, but you're getting these directives and then you're getting more information. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, the plan that we just set up with my staff, an hour ago or 20 minutes ago, okay, we have to change that now because now we have new information and now this isn't going to work. And so it has just been so challenging to do that. And that's why people keep, my lunch recipients keep getting different colored flyers. It's because every time you get a different color on the flyer, something has been changed on the flyer.
Correct.
So let me just go through the latest flyer, which this one is literally hot off the press, like last night right before I left. So a couple changes that we've made. I did mention that the doors to the senior center are locked. We do have a doorbell system. The phone, if you want to call us, we are asking that you call between the hours of 8:30 and 1 o'clock. Now, if you're calling for lunch, you have to call between 8:30 and 10. But if you're just calling because you have a question, because you have a concern, if you want to make a phone appointment, consultation with Karen Noblet because of a health insurance issue, please call between 8:30 and 1 o'clock because I do have staff working a modified schedule. Additionally, what we're finding is if people are calling us because they have a need or there's some type of an emergency, we would like to know that by 1 o'clock and not at 4:15.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because
don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah, because it's really hard for us to do anything, especially, again, as I'm, staff, we're trying not to have too many staff in the building at the same time and, all of those things to keep our distance. So, again, the number for the senior center is 562-6435. We are a phone call away, but we are asking if at all possible to call before 1. Now, I'm generally in the building all day, and I will answer the phone if I'm there. However, I have some conference calls that are set conference calls. So,
set times.
Yep, set times with the personnel department about staffing issues. That's a daily one. We have the emergency one with Jim Wiggs and his team. I have another one with the Mass Association of Councils on Aging and the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. So it may be that I'm in the building, but if I'm on the phone with a conference call, I can't take your call. So call us between 8:30 and 1. Meal pickup is now from 11 to noon. We had it until 12:30. That's a long time it's a chunk out of my day, and it's a long time.
Probably it works better that
there.
way too.
It is working better, and we really only had a couple of people that were coming between 12 and 12:30, so we've streamlined it. So it's between 11 and 12. Please make sure you get there by 12 because we'll hang out for a couple extra minutes if you're a straggler, but after that I'm pulling my team in and we're going to start the cleanup process.
There you go.
Programs and activities, obviously all of our group programs are canceled, although I did have somebody who called the other day who wanted to know if we were going to do ballroom dancing next week. I said, yeah, that doesn't really work with the 6 foot, distance that you need to be. Not to mention the fact that we're not doing any group programs. And in fact, all of the group programs and all of the activities and fitness classes, everything has been suspended through the month of April. So for your planning purposes, the entire month of April, no group anything. We'll take stock and see what May brings, but I just don't know right now. The newsletter is actually coming out this weekend, the Voice of Experience newsletter. And you might think, So what do you have in a newsletter if you don't have any group programs? You won't believe what's in that newsletter. It's so full of information. And I'm really proud of it because I couldn't use my regular sort of formula that I use to write my newsletter with,
Right.
we're going to have a special party, so I do an article about it, or we're going to have a special speaker, I do an article. Well, we're not having any of those things. So anyway, but there's a lot of good information in that. So for those of you who get the Westfield News and the Republican delivered, it will be delivered. It'll be in your Saturday edition. Otherwise, we will be getting it out into the community, and we will also be putting it in your lunches for those of you who come by and get lunch. And I'll try to get some over to Abner Gibb so it can go in the lunch. It can be distributed with the senior lunches as well. In terms of services, all tax appointments are suspended. AARP has suspended all of that. And of course, the tax filing deadline for the federal taxes is extended to July 15th. I know Governor Baker is working on the state one, so we'll see what that brings. I think we should have a decision soon. Senior Benefits Coordinator Karen Noblet is conducting all of her Shine meetings over the telephone, so you can call Karen at 562-6435 to schedule a telephone consultation. Our outreach coordinator, Joanne Ortegas, is working closely with Joyce Peregrine, not physically closely because Joyce is working from home, but they are keeping in touch with each other, keeping tabs on each other, and they're coordinating the companion program. And we're trying to make sure that all of our homebound seniors who have companion volunteers, all of those volunteers pretty much have been suspended, but we are making sure that people have food, and I have some new volunteers that we're in the process of Corey checking who will do some grocery shopping. They will not take anyone shopping. They won't come into your home, but they will come to your door. They'll get your list. They'll get your check for the store and your card if you have a Big Y or a Stop and Shop card or a Price Right card. Do the shopping and then bring that back for you. So for those of our homebound clients that don't have families, we're really restricting this to people who don't have family supports. But anyway, Joanne and Joyce are working on that. Our wellness nurse, Mary Ellen Asher, those services are suspended because we don't have people coming into the building at this point. And I think that's about it. I mentioned Westfield Middle School, the senior lunch program. That's between 11 and 1 for your lunch pickup, and you pick it up at Abner Gibbs. We are reminding seniors, young people, old people, middle-aged people, everybody, if you feel sick, if you are sick, please stay home and avoid close contact with others. I just heard this really sort of gut-wrenching story, Pete, on my way in on NPR about an emergency physician, of an emergency room physician, and his wife, who's an epidemiologist. She just had a baby. They have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a newborn. And because he's still working, she obviously is not right now. Yep. And because he's high risk where he's working, they really felt it best that he not be anywhere around the kids or the newborn, especially. So he is camping out. I guess they have a room over the garage.
Oh,
so
geez.
Yeah, but think of how challenging. He has a newborn. So now she's in the house with two, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, who now she's got a homeschool and a newborn with no support from her husband because he, doesn't want to endanger them, of course. And I have to say what positive attitudes they have, and
it's not easy right now.
It's not easy for anybody. We absolutely understand that people are scared, and I think I'm just trying to be very cool-headed and level-headed and smart, but not getting involved in the panic and the frenzy, because that doesn't do you any good, And as Jim Wiggs said, worrying does not do you any good at all. Planning does, That's,
exactly.
Yeah, and hope is not a plan. So don't hope that this is going to go by and you won't be affected. We're all affected. All right, it is 7:05. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses. So we are going to play our weekly Aretha tribute here, and we'll do a little respect.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com. They are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value. One of our underwriters here at WSKB's Community Radio is Carson Center for Health and Human Services, a nonprofit organization located at 20 Broad Street in Westfield. They provided behavioral health and rehabilitation services in communities throughout Western Massachusetts since 1963. There are services for children, adolescents, adults, families, and couples. You can find them on the web at carsoncenter.org or at 413-572-4132.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:09. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM.
I think he was waiting for his music.
Radio for the Westfield masses. Well, we have
seriously just came blowing in here. It's like he didn't hear his music.
And
you know?
we're gonna give him a few minutes because I have a couple. Listen to this, Pete. Now, how appropriate is this? Today, March 25th, is the beginning of National Physicians Week. Believe it or not, it doesn't go from like Sunday to Saturday or whatever. It's March 25th to March 31st. So this is the 5th annual National Physicians Week. This movement was started by Physicians Working Together, PWT, which is an organization consisting of physicians across the world who provide information, advocacy, networking, collaboration, community outreach, and support to other physicians and medical professionals alike. According to PWT's website, they provide a forum for physicians from all disciplines to learn from one another's experiences, share information, and find solutions to universal physician issues. I can't think of a better time that they need to be working together than right now. In recognition of National Physicians Week, let's all take a moment to honor the hardworking men and women who are devoted to keeping our loved ones and us healthy. Think about a time when a doctor made a difference in your life. Perhaps they helped cure a serious illness, mend a broken bone, or helped you get over a terrible cold that you had last year. Whatever the case, be sure to thank your doctor the next time you're in for a visit. And if you happen to go anytime soon, they had suggested on one of the websites, giving the physician a red rose, and I would suggest giving them a face mask, which is probably what they're really looking for right about now. So, yep. Oh, sorry. Were you talking to me, Pete? No. Okay.
No, I was actually talking to Joe.
Oh, sorry. Okay. No, that's fine. Keep going. I've got another national week. It is National Cleaning Week. Again, how appropriate. Beginning the 4th Sunday in March, so we're right in the middle of it, folks. National Cleaning Week shows up just in time for fair weather. Besides a clean home, it's a week that can produce improved moods, decreased stress levels, and increased creativity. It's a week to put away winter essentials and tidy up our homes to usher in a fresh start with spring. How to observe? Well, you got to clean during National Cleaning Week. So the folks at Home Team have these recommendations to make Cleaning Week less intimidating. Tackle one room at a time. Start from the top and work your way down, dusting ceiling fans, door moldings, and window tops. Don't be afraid to move furniture. Donate to thrift store. So right now you can't go out and donate to this thrift store, but just put those things to the side that are going to get donated down the road. And when you clean out your closets and your basements and your storage space. So National Cleaning Week, this is a great opportunity. I know a lot of people are taking the time as they're, kind of self-quarantined or sheltering in place to do some of those home projects. The hardware stores are still open, so I can tell you that I was at Home Depot on Saturday along with other people who were just picking up, paint to do some painting, and some people who are getting started on their yard work, and just some of the projects that they've kind of put to the side because they didn't have time to do it. My husband and I being, two people who kind of had put some projects to the side, we're going to start working on those. So, get your supplies, and this is a great time to do it. So National Cleaning Week, start going through those closets and those drawers or a shelf or a cabinet. Now you have the time. and it's a great time to do that. So you can kind of celebrate that. I just want to make one announcement before we take our break, and then my guest, Joe Rouse from the Health Department, is here to fill us in on the latest. I do want to announce that we did have a party scheduled at the Senior Center tomorrow. That was our beach party, which unfortunately our beach day indoor picnic was scheduled for tomorrow, and of course we can't have that. Those of you who purchased tickets for that have been called. I think we called everybody on the list. I think everybody will be coming through tomorrow with their beach. Anybody who's on the list who purchased a beach day ticket will come through for lunch tomorrow between 11 and 12 o'clock. Just follow the signs and the guidance from the volunteers and the staff on how to go about doing that if you haven't come to get a meal yet. You're going to get your beach day meal. Unfortunately, we can't do the root beer floats for dessert just because of they'll all be melty and messy and all kinds of other stuff, but we'll have some dessert in there for you as well. And each beach day recipient will also get a gift certificate for a future meal at the Senior Center to make up for the fact that, we can't have the party, we can't have the entertainment. We're sad about that. But Spunk and Sass was supposed to be the entertainment, and I am trying to get them to come back for over the summer to do a party with us over the summer. So hopefully that will happen, in a few months from now. But in the meantime, the other thing is, if you did not purchase a ticket for the beach day picnic, we are not taking extra calls tomorrow because we don't have enough food available. So if you didn't get a beach day ticket, no lunch for you at the Senior Center tomorrow for a pickup. But again, you can always go over to Abner Gibbs between 11 and 1, and they are doing takeout meals for the seniors over there on a regular basis every day, Monday through Friday. But we can't. We had ordered just so much for the party, and so those who have tickets will get the meals tomorrow. And then Friday it'll be back to the regular. Just call us in the morning. All right, it is 7:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My guest this second hour is Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield. Right now, the most popular guy in the city. So we will bring Joe in with his song, Happiness is a Thing Called Joe by Peggy Lee.
Skies ain't gonna cloud no more, the crops ain't gonna fail. Caught a bluebird by the toe, a rainbow by the tail. A certain man with eyes that shine voodooed up this heart of mine. It seems like happiness is just a thing called Joe. He's got a smile that makes the lilacs want to grow. He's got a way that makes the angels heave a sigh. When they see little Joe passing by, sometimes the cabin's gloomy and the table's bare. But when he kisses me, it's Christmas. troubles fly away and life is easy go. Does he love me good? That's all I need to know. Seems like happiness is just a thing called Joe. Little Joe, little Joe, little Joe.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:21. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and Pete Coles is behind the glass over there in his isolated booth.
Bubble.
Good morning again, Pete. And turn your mic on there, Pedro.
Yeah. I'm trying to find everybody else and build graphics for Harry's show.
There you go. I know Pete's he's a busy guy. And my guest this morning is Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield. Joe used to join us on the second Wednesday of the month. This month is the first month you switched to the fourth Wednesday of the month. You may be regretting that, my friend. Just think, 2 weeks ago, we could have just been talking about the weather,
right?
Basically. And now I'm
going to shut my mic off. I'm going to be laughing.
I know you're going to be laughing. Well, we're just going to try to keep a little levity here as we sprinkle in all the really serious stuff going on around us. So, Joe, take a breath. This has been a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been.
Where would you like to start, my friend?
Well, I mean, I watched the interview that Ken did with the mayor and Jim Wiggs. It was really good. Got a lot of information out there, and I can just build on that.
Okay.
It's
excellent.
I don't want to get into the whole issues about you've already discussed all of the common sense precautions, and that's out there. Our one thing I will say is that this week, like Jim Wiggs mentioned yesterday, we're going to start disseminating more information to the public. So right now, as you know, it's been just frantic. And so just being able to cover the calls, do the investigations, and, get everything sorted out in our own office, and constant, conference calls with all different people.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to think that you have to stop everything that you're doing and start getting messages out to the public.
Well, and I think I have always been a firm believer on waiting and getting accurate information out to people as opposed to, well, let's just get something out to people because they need information. And then you find out, well, yeah, except that information wasn't really accurate or it wasn't really clear. And, Pete and I were talking about first hour, Joe, just the fact that especially that first week, I have changed what I'm handing out to the seniors. We're doing a daily flyer when they pick up their meals. I keep changing color so that they know, okay, there's different information on this flyer than there was on, the orange flyer yesterday or the blue flyer Friday. I've changed the flyer 4 times, like in 6 days. Just as we're planning, as we get more information and we're changing our plans around whatever that new information is. So, I appreciate the fact that we didn't just start spitting out a bunch of information and then that turns out to be not accurate information, or that was the best information we had at the time, but now it's changed.
Yeah,
so
and everybody says,
now,
right? This is a quickly evolving situation. It's settled down a little bit as far as the facts of what we know are starting to about the disease. That's staying pretty solid right now. So no real surprises like we had in the beginning.
Yep.
But that could still come. And you're absolutely right. We waited to send out information, especially to the public, knowing that the next week things were going to change. And instead of retracting all of that and having to issue new information, it's like, let's just sit for a while and see where this lands. And really, ultimately, I think it's the if anything, the message doesn't really matter other than to say to the people, we as Jim Wiggs says, we have our arms wrapped around this. So we have it. And we're really, really lucky right now with all the people that we have. As you know, you sit in on the phone calls. It's a great core group of people.
Yes.
And that all communicate and work well together. So I think if I had to say anything to the public, regardless of what the specifics are about, what we're learning from the state health department and the CDC, okay, that stuff can be found. It can be found on any website that you go to.
Right.
You can learn everything you want. Now that people aren't going out as much, sit home and educate yourself. That's very important. I can tell you, and you can't read this, anywhere, that the city couldn't possibly be reacting any better to this right now. And we are doing everything above and beyond to help slow the spread of this. We already know it's here. It's in Westfield. We have confirmed cases. We knew that was going to happen. Nobody was foolish enough to think it was going to skip over us.
Right.
So, but the fact is that our numbers right now are holding steady. We're not seeing, even though throughout the state you are seeing huge spikes in other areas from day to day. Right now in Westfield, and we can disregard Hampden County completely because we're keeping our own set of data now locally, is that the number that we have right now is the same as it was 2 days ago. In fact, I think it's the same as it was on Friday.
Okay.
With maybe one additional case.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say that all of a sudden, we could get 3 or 4 this morning.
Yep.
But we haven't seen that huge spike yet. It may happen. It most likely will. But right now, everything is manageable in Westfield. So I know there's a sense of panic, and everybody is nervous, and even people that work in the city.
Sure.
You just
sometimes
the more you know, the more scared you get too. So
Yes.
I've started to really advise people, this is no joke. This isn't something that you can just turn your nose up at. You really have to listen to us and do all of the precautionary things. Biggest thing is stay home as much as you can. Bottom line, we're not in a shelter-in-place situation yet, but what are your options as far as going out if you're not going to get food, unless you're an essential employee and you're going to work?
Right.
So, I drove by my mother's place the other day and I didn't see her car, and I immediately called because I wanted to try and hey, you either better be at the grocery store or the doctor, one of those two. Otherwise, what are you doing out? So it's encourage people to do that. Really, and I think that if those spikes start to happen, especially out in the western region, the governor's going to look more closely at doing the shelter in place like they did in New York and California. And there's probably some other areas that have done that already. So, but we're not quite there yet. And as everyone can see from driving around Westfield, you know how the traffic usually is.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I made it down here from my house, which usually in a normal day would take 15, 20 minutes with all the traffic in the schools. I think I made it in like 7 minutes down here.
So I did the same thing.
So if people are doing, and you really, there's a reason for why all of these guidelines are being put out, especially by the governor. So don't try and circumvent that. That's very important. There's a rhyme and a reason for all of this. Nobody's just doing this because we're trying to cover our butt or anything. You know, there's real science behind this that says this is at this, and I knew he was going to close the non-essential businesses. I predicted that on Friday that Monday he was going to do it, and he did. So when you follow this along closely, you can see the writing on the wall and the way it's going. The governor, I give him great credit. He's reacted very appropriately to all of this.
I have so much confidence in him.
Because if he didn't do this thing this past Monday with the non-essential businesses, the city would have done that. So before I even got done with the decree to send out and say no more non-essential, he had already announced
he did it across the state, and so it makes it so much easier because the other thing that you don't want is, okay, we do that here in Westfield, so people go over to Agawam or West Springfield to go to do whatever non-essential stuff they need,
right?
And I think that's certainly understands that, right? That's even worse. It's just gonna crowd it even more.
And thankfully he left the liquor stores open. So I mean,
we were laughing about that at the senior center, sort of trying to figure out, okay, so how does that work?
Well, I can tell you
it's
exactly.
Okay, but
you know what? Again, there's, like I said, there's science behind everything. This isn't just him. Being a good
I'm sure there isn't. So that was my thing. It's like, okay, so what was the rationale?
The rationale and the reality is, you close the package stores, and your emergency rooms are going to be inundated with people.
DTs.
Correct.
DTs.
Inundated with people who self-medicate with alcohol. And or who are habitual users.
Yeah.
And you can die from those withdrawal symptoms, and that's where your healthcare system is going to get really taxed. So nobody's encouraging people to go ahead and just do your, self-medicate yourself. But the reality of it is that's happening. And if you take that away, you're going to see more and more people in the ER and urgent care for non-corona symptom issues.
It's so interesting, Joe, that I think that for the public and for the public that are listening and watching this morning, and I always tell my staff this, and I tell my seniors this, if we're doing something, if we have a policy or a protocol, there's a reason for it. It's not like something I pulled out of a hat and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna make a restriction here. Or I'm gonna do this or that." I mean, all along I've always operated that way. So I knew that there was a reason. That was my question. It's like, okay, so what was the rationale behind liquor stores being considered, essential? And there it is. Yeah, and that makes absolute perfect sense, because the last thing you want to do is bring more people into the ER who, that's an issue that we're going to have to deal with. That's got to be dealt with at a different time, not right now.
Yeah.
So
it makes
a lot of sense.
There's one more issue too. Talk about the rationale for it and the real reason. So yesterday I decided to close our transfer station in Westfield to the public. And that created a whole bunch of stir from people saying, what are we going to do with our leaves when we, I won't comment on that. But what I'll say is we didn't just close it because we didn't want the public going in and contaminating stuff. It's all an outdoor facility.
Right.
You can definitely practice social distancing up there. So you wonder, well, what's the reason why you had to close? Well, with non-essential businesses not being allowed to go out, a lot of our vendors are not picking up the items that residents are dropping off. And so those items start, if we allow that facility to remain open, we're just going to get inundated with stuff, and we're not going to have anybody who's able to come and pick it up.
Understood.
Like tires, recyclables.
Right.
I mean, trash is a different exempt thing. So, and all the curbside trucks are still going to be running out of there. Yep. So curbside collection will not be affected, just to let everybody know.
Okay.
But the reason for closing it is we are licensed with the state. We can't allow a certain amount of accumulation of not even non-trash items up there, or it's a violation of our permit. So until we get those vendors back online and they start picking up again, I mean, imagine like a tire recycling company.
Absolutely.
They're non-essential. You
Right.
see a
Right.
officer sees them driving down the road, it's like an automatic, hey, what are you doing, you know?
Exactly.
So.
All right. Okay, let's take a breath.
Sure.
It's 7:33. Joe needs a little break here. We all need a little break. So our song, this one is just, this is for you, Joe. So, you know, I've been doing, when Dr. Lovelace was on a couple weeks ago, we did a lot of fever songs. So this one is Saturday Night Fever by the Bee Gees, just
Nice.
in honor of the coronavirus. So here we go.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:38. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, the man behind the glass, Pete Coles, and my guest this morning. Yeah, good morning, Pete. My guest this morning.
Multitasking back
He's
here.
multitasking. And my guest this morning is Joe Rouse from the Department of Public Health for the City of Westfield. So, hey, Harry, can you do me a favor? I'm sorry. Can you just close that door? This one. Thank you. All right, Joe. So we've been talking about, obviously, coronavirus, all things going on in your world. So what else do you feel is important for the public to know at this point?
Yeah. So we're so spread all over the place with this that I love the questions that we get from people, because we're answering questions from people over the phone as far as what, this new essential versus non-essential. We, local boards of health, are actually empowered to enforce that. Mm-hmm. So we're getting tons of calls on that. We have 2 guys, our inspectors in the office, that are fielding those calls. And so we go from that to, the other end of the questions about, should I get tested? When should I get tested? What are the symptoms? What are the criteria that will allow me to go back to work if I've been self-quarantined? So those are all the things that I love, and I'll speak to that, the latter part of that. And then I want to talk about the testing thing, because that's the one that most people have a lot of questions about.
Okay.
So, but as far as, I'll go through the process like this real quick. It won't take long.
That's okay. Take your time. You have time.
Well,
take your time.
I don't want to upset the underwriters. But anyway.
No, you're fine.
So we have... say we have a confirmed case.
Okay.
What happens is somebody who's symptomatic, they'll show up either to the ER or urgent care or their doctors, and call first before you show up.
Okay.
If you're having really bad symptoms, now one of the worst ones with this is the real bad shortness of breath, and I'm talking about tightness in the chest, like you just can't breathe. Mm-hmm. That's something you need to go to the ER for. So anything else, if you just feel like you have the flu or a cold, don't just let that go. Self-monitor yourself, take your temperature, monitor your symptoms. If you really start to feel like you need to go to the doctor, call your doctor. Call them and say, this is what's going on. They'll have you come in. And whether most of the confirmed cases we've seen, or all of them, I say, is from either Bay State Noble or Bay State Springfield.
Okay.
So these were people that actually went to the hospital.
Okay.
That's how bad they are.
Okay.
And so then they do the testing. If they get it confirmed, it gets entered into a system that we in Westfield get notified if they're Westfield residents. So our nurse, when she goes in the morning, it'll pop up on her screen, and that prompts an investigation. So right now, as opposed to before we were really doing trying to go down the line as much as possible of the contacts of the contacts of the contacts.
Right.
And right now, the only thing that we're really interested in is the confirmed case, and then anyone who has had significant or direct contact with that person.
Okay.
So that usually involves family members, people that are close to them in close proximity. So we get all the patient information, we call them, we interview them, who else have you been around, and then we decide at that point to do a quarantine for people. So there's 2 different quarantines. There's what everybody was calling the self-quarantine.
Yep.
That was the one where doctors or whoever was saying, hey, you're symptomatic, you need to self-quarantine.
Okay.
And so most people complied with that. When you become a case where you're a significant contact of a confirmed case, that is not a self-quarantine. That's a mandatory quarantine.
Okay.
And that's where we get involved and make sure that those people are staying home, that they're not traversing out into the world. 14 days. And like I said, we monitor that. So it's not, that's when it's the real deal. So
Joe, just for clarification. So if you have a confirmed case, and let's say, it's your husband or your wife or your mom or whatever. So it's a mandatory quarantine for you, and you may or may not develop any symptoms. You may not get it, but you still have to stay home.
Yep.
Okay, for
Absolutely.
2 weeks,
Yes.
14 days, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I just want to make that clear because I want people to understand that it's not just, well, yeah, now I feel sick too, so I should stay home. It's like, nope, if you are around this person, then you need to be home.
Right.
Okay.
You don't right now nobody's quarantining mandatory or self-quarantining unless you've had contact with a confirmed case.
Gotcha.
Different than the way it was. So so that 14-day quarantine period is shown to be, that's the time, the incubation time for the virus. So we just want to make sure that people aren't going to be symptomatic within those 14 days. Last I heard, the average onset time after exposure, it was around 9 or 10 days. It could be lower in some cases, 11 days, but even up to 14 days. So that's we're monitoring that incubation period to see if anyone's symptomatic. So the quarantine might even extend beyond the 14 days. So in other words, if you don't present with symptoms until the 11th day, and then you get tested because you have the symptoms and you're the contact of a confirmed case, that might go on to another
14 days. Yeah.
So, but that's like a lot of people don't know. That's one of the things that we're really monitoring, and it's a lot of work because there's depending on the family, sometimes there's a lot of direct contacts of confirmed
absolutely.
cases. So you got to try and track them all down. And then as far as the testing goes, this is one where I think as time goes on, it's going to be more readily available for people to get tested.
Yep.
But right now, it's really only being reserved for the people that are symptomatic that, again, were significant contacts of a confirmed case or symptomatic first responders. That's another one that they'll test now.
Okay, yep.
But it's not just, you can't just show up at the drive-through testing site in Springfield and expect that you're going to get swabbed, because unless you're, you are symptomatic, or you can say, hey, maybe they'll take you if you are a direct contact of a confirmed case. That's changing all the time. So the criteria for testing is changing all the time. But I can tell you that one thing they won't do is test you just to test you.
Yeah.
So and maybe that'll come. I understand that the government had allocated a lot of money in the stimulus package to fund test kits so that more people can be tested.
Okay.
So you're not waiting until you are symptomatic until you can figure out if you have it. So.
And I think that's a bit of a misnomer. I keep hearing that on the news. There are so many new cases. And I keep saying they should really be saying there's so many diagnosed cases, because it's not necessarily that they're new cases. I mean, it may be that the person has had it, didn't realize that they had it. Now they've been tested and that's been confirmed. So
right. Yeah, there's been a lot of trouble with the for a while we had the presumptive positive cases, and that was just the way the system worked, is that somebody would be tested, it would go to the state lab for laboratory analysis. They would be a presumed positive until it got to CDC, where they would finally say, yes, it's confirmed.
Okay.
That didn't always happen. Sometimes we had presumptive positives that would come back as negatives.
Okay.
They've shored that up a lot now. The laboratory process is a lot more efficient and it's quicker. So we're getting those results back a little bit more accurately, which is then, again, now where the numbers are going to start
where the numbers are going to go up. Absolutely.
And they have. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. We know that. All right, let's take a little bit of a break. Are you ready for a little break here? It's 6:46. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. So this one is in honor of the birthday of Aretha Franklin, and I chose this song on purpose because, now with this whole coronavirus thing, before you do anything, you need to think, okay? Just think.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, way on, way back when. I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than 10. Just now. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with degrees.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldState.bncollege.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:50. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. It is March 25th. My guest this morning is Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health with the City of Westfield.
Hi.
And hi, Joe. And, you know, it was funny, Joe, it has been, I think, 6 weeks since you were on the show. I remember 6 weeks ago when we were coming up with a topic, and I said, well, you know, you said, well, what do you want to talk about? And I said, well, you know, we should probably talk about the coronavirus. It's, you know, starting to become something that people are kind of talking about a little bit. And, you know, and you and I kind of both said, yeah, okay, that'd be a good topic. That might be, you know, that was 6 weeks ago. And it was still kind of out there. And, you know, we were just kind of still with, you know, wash your hands, just be careful. You know, if you have symptoms, stay home if you're sick.
Yeah.
And how
it's like the flu.
It's like the flu, yeah.
different.
And it's, you know, it's just like how fast things change. And as you know, as we pointed out at the beginning when you first came, yeah, exactly. Thanks, Pete. And you know, as Pete and I were talking about first hour too, and just so the public knows that it is changing so quickly that we're trying to stay on top of it, to give people accurate information. But I just keep telling people, you know, it's fluid. Any plan that we come up with, we just have to be flexible, and you just have to realize, because I don't want people saying, well, you know, on Monday you told us this, this, and this. And you know what? On Monday, that might have been my best information, and that was accurate information on Monday. And here it is on Wednesday morning, and, you know, we may have a different plan.
Yeah, we got burned on that commenting in the very beginning because we were given information from the state that came down from the CDC that said that there was no asymptomatic transmission of the virus. Mm-hmm. And so we mentioned that, and that was saying basically if people don't have symptoms, they can't transmit. Mm-hmm. Found out probably a week later, if not less, that wasn't true, that there can be asymptomatic transfer. Right. And in the call yesterday with the state, it was reiterated again that yes, that's possible, but it's not the primary mode of transmission for this.
Right.
It's still all about droplets. It's still all about sneezing and coughing, and that's why the social distancing is huge.
Yes.
Now, if you do these 3 things, or 4 things, I'll say. Let's throw them all together. So stay home as much as you can.
Okay.
Wash your hands.
Yep.
Don't touch your face.
Yep.
Right? Those 3. What was the 4th one I was going to say? And social distancing.
Which, by the way, let's just talk about this. My husband's friend has a real problem with that term, and I understand why. Social distancing, technically, social distancing is you could be sitting right next to me and we are like having nothing to do with each other. It's really physical distance is what we're talking about.
It is.
It's not social. It's physical. It's a 6 foot. That's physical. I don't know where social distancing came from because
we're gonna scrap that right now.
Well, it's kind of crazy because my thing is you can all be sitting at the dinner table together and you know everybody's on a cell phone. Well, you're socially distancing yourself. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a physical 6 foot distance. So that's physical distance, and that's what we're all about here. it's now socially acceptable to have this physical distance. Maybe that's where it came from.
Or if you're in a social situation, you should distance yourself by 6 feet.
Correct. It was interesting. I noticed when I went to Big Y yesterday on my way home to pick up some groceries, and they now have the plexiglass in between the cashiers and the public.
Oh.
Yeah, which I think is really a good idea, because I can tell you that, there are times when, you're in the grocery store and you just want to say to somebody, why are you here? Because clearly, nose is running, the whole thing. And now here's my thing, Joe. We are starting to get into allergy season.
Yep.
And for those of us who, deal with allergies, I know my allergy symptoms though. My eyes will start itching, my nose will start running. I'm usually sneezing my head off first thing in the morning, and then it subsides as the day wears on. But I can see that being this whole other, oh my gosh, is it allergies or is it something more serious?
Right. And there is still, the flu is still going around.
Yes.
There's a common cold that's still going around.
Yeah.
I had it, turned into a sinus infection that made me really nervous.
Yep.
But I got on antibiotics, and that's exactly what it was. It happens to me every year.
Yeah.
But still, I was nervous about, what is this? I don't feel good.
Yep.
But that's all it was. So people just need to, those 4 things that I just mentioned.
Yes.
Was pretty much going to keep you out of the woods, because those are just such common sense. But I know it's hard for people to not touch their face, and the physical distancing is sometimes beyond your control. You might have somebody sneak up, run up behind you, and sneeze on your back of your head. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that happening in the grocery store.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of difficult, that one, but that's why there's more even of a reason to stay home as much as you can.
And I think the message is getting out. I mean, I will say, when I went to the store yesterday, people were very conscious. And young, old, male, female, I mean, there were all kinds of people in line with me, but everybody was pretty conscious of, the span of your cart plus a few feet, So we were, of course, it really spreads you out in the grocery store, but hey, but I'm also finding that there aren't as many people in the store at one time. And I think that's the other thing, it's kind of, I saw Jeff Belargeron when I was at the store yesterday, and he was saying, it was last night after I left the senior center, so it's probably about 6, 7 o'clock, something like that. And Jeff said, wow, this is a great time. There are very few people in here. And I said, yeah, I know. I mean, the shelves aren't as stocked by then, but certainly you have plenty of space. We are really super lucky at the senior center. I mean, I have half my staff working. I got a 20,000 square foot building, and everybody has a private office. So, there's really plenty of room to kind of spread out, keep your distance from people. But
very important. And, we go back to the whole testing procedure. I just wanted to. So one of the things where people were wondering, because to take somebody out of quarantine, and in other words, for employers to allow somebody to come back to work.
Right, now it's like, how do I know that so-and-so can come back?
Because they're not going to test you.
Right.
Unless you're symptomatic, especially if you're at the end of the 14-day quarantine.
Yep.
And you haven't been symptomatic.
Right.
So what they initially said was you get the clearance by getting 2 negative tests 24 hours apart.
Yeah, nice joke.
Okay, not going to happen.
Not happening.
So
not enough
so
tests.
Now what it is that so long as you haven't had symptoms for 72 hours without the use of medication.
Right.
So no cough, no fever without the use of medication.
Right.
And it's been at least 7 days since the onset of symptoms.
Yep.
Then you are free to go out back into the world.
Right. So now we're now talking about a total of 10 days minimum. So seven days from the onset of symptoms, and then 3 days of no symptoms, no medications, no Tylenol or any of that stuff.
Right. Yep. Those two together, those are the standards that we're using. Now, it's hard because some employers are demanding before they'll allow their employees to come back.
A note from the doctor, right?
Yeah.
And
give me a
negative
that? Test.
Yeah,
I'm not. How do I know you still aren't contagious? So.
Yeah, I know.
That's going to be difficult. But like I said, with more testing becoming available in the near future, that may become more of a reality.
Okay. All right. Joe, any final words of wisdom before we sign off and turn this over to Harry Rock?
Like you said, if you feel sick, stay home. We're now changing the term to physical distancing.
Physical distancing,
that's what we're
guys.
doing. We're
6
setting
foot.
it right. I'm going to cross it off and
Physical
replace
distance.
it.
Well, that's what it is, though, right? I mean,
is.
that's what we're asking people to do. Physically distance
Yep.
yourself.
And I just touched my face, so that's the end of me. But no, other than that, any questions, people, please feel free to call the health department.
Okay.
572-6210.
Very
That's
good.
572-6210.
All right.
We have people there that can answer questions. Also, you can call 211, that Mass 211. There is a wait time. I'm going to cough.
Bit of a wait now on the 211. You were saying yesterday, Joe, there's like a 90-minute wait. So, and that's just for information, right? As the 211 is just for
and they'll
information.
call you back too.
Right.
So.
And again, you can call the Senior Center between 8:30 and 1 o'clock if you have concerns or questions. 562-6435, and we will do our best to answer your calls. Please be patient. Please be creative. Please be positive. Have a great attitude, and it's all in the attitude. Right. We are, over the next couple of weeks, especially on my show, we're going to be talking about some of the creative things that people are doing while they're sheltering in place. It's a great opportunity to get some things done as the weather warms up. You can get out there and do a little bit of your yard work. You'll get some exercise, clean up the yard. There's all kinds of stuff that we can be doing. So,
absolutely.
All right, Joe. And what's your final word? Always
stay healthy, my friends.
Signing off. See you next week.
Support for the community program